It is 10:03. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. Jeff Fisher is back in coaching. The former Titans head coach was named the next head man of the Michigan Panthers in the USFL. Meanwhile, the Titans' current coach picked up his second postseason award. Mike Vrabel named the Pro Football Writers Association NFL Coach of the Year. The AP NFL Coach of the Year award will be given out on February 10th, the Thursday before Super Bowl 56. The Preds finished out their road trip with a shootout loss at the Edmonton Oilers. Philip Forsberg scoring his 200th career goal as a Predator, also added an assist. The Preds will come back to Nashville having taken 3 out of 4 possible points on the road trip. Still second in the Central Division. They'll get a bit of a break and will be back in Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday to host the Vancouver Canucks. The 4th-ranked Tennessee Lady Vols dropped their first SEC loss of the season in an upset at last place Auburn, 71-61. Jordan Horston with 21 points as the Lady Vols fall to 18-2. Belmont went on the road and handled Austin Peay in Clarksville on Thursday, 75-67. Ben Shepherd led with 18 points as the Bruins improved to 16-5. They will host UT Martin at the Curb Center tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Meanwhile, the Lipscomb Bisons fell to 9-13 with a 66-59 loss to Jacksonville. They'll visit North Florida tomorrow. The U.S. men's national team picked up a World Cup qualifying win on Thursday, 1-0 over El Salvador. Nashville Soccer Club defender Walker Zimmerman started the game and went a full 90 minutes. The U.S. is second in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying table. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising here with you till 1 o'clock today. Lucas Panzica, he's back there making it happen. We got a lot of football to talk about. Conference Championship weekend is officially upon us. It's going to be fun. I like these matchups a lot between the Bengals going to Kansas City and the Niners trying to take down the Rams for a third time this season. We'll obviously get into some Titans conversation with Coach Dave McGinnis later on in the show. And, of course, we'd love your involvement. 615-737-1045. That's the number if you want to jump in. 615-737-1045. So, I was curious to see how people were going to react to this today because Bengals, Chiefs, Niners, Rams, it's all over every sports medium that I turn on. And so I was thinking about this last night, getting ready for the primetime show. I was thinking, okay, we've had 4 straight days on both primetime and the radio show talking about Ryan Tannehill, talking about Todd Downing, on and on and on with all these Titans things that need to be corrected. And I'm not saying that we're not going to talk about some of that stuff today. But I thought to myself last night, I'm like, you know what? There's great football this weekend. Let's talk about the football games. And my primetime show last night fell flat on its face because people wanted to talk again about Ryan Tannehill. Now, there's relevant conversations to have around Tannehill, but I'm legitimately curious to know at this point, as Titans fans, because that's what the vast majority of the audience is. And by the way, if you're not a Titans fan, we'd love to hear from you on this too. Are people just done with football at this point for the season? Are people so focused on the offseason, so focused on coaching changes or lack thereof with Tennessee, so focused on what the quarterback situation is going to look like? You've got free agent rankings and lists, all kinds of great things for you to armchair GM already. Are you already on to that portion of this? Or are you still invested in what should be 2 fantastic football games? I think it's pretty interesting. 615-737-1045. Because I know that as soon as the Titans lost, I'm thinking offseason. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to seeing if Joe Burrow can actually do some damage in Kansas City, in Arrowhead, after beating the Chiefs in Cincinnati earlier in the regular season. The idea that the 49ers could win 3 games against the Rams this season and route to the Super Bowl is fascinating for me. And we'll spend some time breaking down the X's and O's of these games with Coach Mack. But Lucas, we were talking about this morning, and you said you feel like a lot of people are just like, to hell with the rest of the NFL season. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I have friends that just have a hard time bringing themselves to watch football that still aren't over the heartbreak.
All right, do we believe them, though?
I believe them more than the guy who says, I'm boycotting the NFL, and then sits on his couch for 7 hours watching Red Zone.
So you're saying that you don't believe the people who said they were leaving football because knees were taken as much as you believe the people who are just heartbroken from the Titans' loss and just can't go on watching Joe Burrow in Kansas City because they know, and we all know, that the AFC Championship game should have absolutely been in Nashville this weekend. And they blew it. Like, they botched it. And so now maybe the hurt is too much to go on. I think it's pretty interesting because I'm fascinated by these football games, but we don't got to spend a lot of time on them today if people aren't interested in that. I'm legitimately curious to know how people feel, how people are going to go through the rest of the NFL season, because I think there's a bunch of different storylines that come out of this. One, for the purposes to keep it local, for our conversation about the quarterback that we've talked about all week long. And I'm looking at Jimmy Garoppolo and I'm thinking, okay, Jimmy G in a big spot back in the NFC Championship game. He has not thrown a touchdown pass in 2 playoff games, and he has won both of them. Now, again, we understand that Jimmy Garoppolo is not the sole reason that the Niners win football games. But I'm looking at this through our local prism, and I'm saying, all right, if Shanahan can do X, Y, and Z with a quarterback who's got 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns, but has won both of his playoff games, how exactly are they managing to do this, and how much further away are the Titans? Then there's somebody like Matt Stafford, who has not been able to overcome the stench that is associated with the Detroit Lions in previous seasons, but now he's on a new team this year. They're absolutely killing people. Titans went to Los Angeles and beat them up. And since then, we, as a show, I felt like we came to the consensus, Rams kind of soft. I'm kind of surprised to see them make it to this point, even though I know that they're chock full of talent, that they've just locked in on this arms race, especially given the fact that they play in the most competitive division in all of football, right? The NFC West, nobody's disputing this. Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals, and Niners. And now again, it's 2 NFC West teams squaring off in the championship game. Is Matt Stafford good enough to get them over the hump? Because that's a different caliber of quarterback, right? We're all looking at it through the prism of, do the Titans have the best possible quarterback option to get over this kind of plateau that they might be, it feels like they might be close to? And with Garoppolo, who's about the same kind of talent, in fact, I would argue that Tannehill has been a better talent than Jimmy Garoppolo as a starting quarterback. Their records are similar, even though Garoppolo has been to the NFC Championship game, will play in another one, and has played in a Super Bowl. And then Stafford, who I think a lot of people would consider a different level, a different tier at the position than, say, Ryan Tannehill. But Matt Stafford, we're asking the same amount of questions. I don't know if people are looking at this the same way that I am, or they're just saying, to hell with the NFL. I don't care anymore. The Titans are out. This has all been spoiled for me. 615-737-1045. Clint is in Murfreesboro, and I think he feels that way. What's up, Clint?
Hey, what's up, Buck? Yeah, this is the first time I've even turned on 104.5 The Zone since the loss.
It's been that bad for you?
Yeah, it's been that bad because I knew every morning I listened to Ramon and Jamar and Ramon and all that, and I don't even watch any. I haven't watched any of the games after that. Like after the loss, like I was driving home from the bar, crying. Well, I wasn't crying. I was kind of tearing up a little bit, but
No, I mean, listen, you can be honest here, Clint. This is an open and honest platform.
And, even betting, like I usually stay pretty solid. I throw a few bets out there. I haven't bet anything. I haven't put any parlays in. I mean, nothing. Like, I put my Henry jersey up. I told my wife to after you wash it, just put it away. I don't even want to put it away. I didn't want to see it. So, but it's sad. It hurt because I thought this year, with even it was our year. I mean, 91 people or 91 players that we put through that played, we dressed. Like, I thought the NFL gods, the football gods were on our side, but obviously, it just shows you how hard it is to win in the NFL. I don't think, you just got to have all the cards. I mean, look at Buffalo. I mean, I feel bad. You think we feel bad? I mean, can you see like a Buffalo fan right now?
Oh my God, I felt so bad for the Bills fans.
I had to call and check in on all my Buffalo buddies. I mean, and only two of them sent me a thumbs up. The other ones I still ain't heard.
It's just a wellness check.
Yeah, just hey, you good? You good? All right, just double check it because I know how I felt after the game. Could you imagine? Oh my God! So I put it in perspective like that. I bleed two-tone blue. I mean, that's it. My little girl, she does. It's a thing that we just love. And I'm getting the music. Am I getting the music?
You're getting the music. Thanks for the call, Clint. I love that people get the music.
That's a good call.
It was a good call, and I felt bad because Lucas is back there fielding phone calls, and I had to whisper subtly after Clint may or may not have told us that he teared up. He got a little dusty.
And there's no shame in that, Clint.
Well, no. Listen, people are super passionate about their sports teams. And that's why, when Lucas told me, when we were talking on Sunday after that game, and you were like, yeah, man, I feel really bad about that. Whereas I'm just like, yeah, I mean, what are we going to talk about on Monday? How many different ways can I look at this quarterback and be like, does he suck? Does he not suck? Talk about it. 615-737-1045.
You just kind of feel like a shell, like just all energy and emotion leaves your body, at least for me. I've never understood teams losing and then fans getting angry and punching walls. For me, it's just every bit of energy is zapped out of my body, and I just sink into a pit of despair.
Hey, let's put it on the poll at Buck Reising. Which fan base leads the league in punched out television screens? Because I think Bills fans probably deserve to be in this conversation given their affinity for breaking furniture with their own bodies.
Fair.
And probably Cowboys fans.
I was going to say Cowboys fans.
Because there's always viral videos of Cowboys fans punching out their televisions. All right, I think this is going to be a good conversation. We're also going to talk about the quarterback this weekend of the four remaining: Garoppolo, Stafford, Burrow, and Mahomes. Which quarterback has the most to prove? We'll take your phone calls as well. Stick around. It's going to be a fun Friday here on 104.5 The Zone. Were you trying to twist the knife a little deeper back there? Some blues music? There's football this weekend, man. What's wrong with you? Get your head out of the sand.
Never a
Stop
bad
feeling
time for this.
sorry for yourself. No, the music's great. I'm just saying, you've been a mope all week long. I need better energy out of you.
I have not been a mope.
You have been a mope. It's true. Everybody has. It's 5 straight days of loaded phone lines. We didn't have a day like this during the Titans regular season, except maybe after the Jets loss. Then people were pissed after the Jets loss. But I'm looking through, and we'll get back to the phones here in just a second. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. You know, I'm scrolling through my Twitter timeline this morning as I'm getting ready for work to see if there's anything new and interesting, any different kind of angles that we should be taking on stuff today. And there's a Pro Football Focus tweet. Now, listen, admittedly, I love Pro Football Focus for their premium stats package. Now, that's something, that I pay for work and that I use when I write and stuff like that. Like, the information that they have is good. What I hate about Pro Football Focus is graphics that they use for social media clout like this. So, CJ Uzoma, the Bengals tight end, he's on Chris Collinsworth's podcast this week. And there's a quote that Pro Football Focus has aggregated from the Chris Collinsworth podcast. The Bengals tight end saying, quote, "We knew that the Titans were scared of us." And this is, all big, bold, blown up. A picture of Mike Hilton celebrating after the second interception. And it just says on Pro Football Focus, "The Titans were scared of the Bengals, ? Eye emoji, blah, blah, blah." And I don't want to off-season anymore, man. We're 5 days into this, and I'm tired of it. I don't want to deal with this. So between you dragging yourself around back there since the Titans lost on Saturday, for all the people who are having therapy sessions on our phone lines, which, by the way, we love you. We're here for you. This is a great way to check in on your friends because a lot of you I was deeply concerned about. But, I don't want to deal with the whole, we're the Titans scared of the Bengals. That's the kind of off-season stuff that just makes me want to smash my head into my laptop.
Yeah, they were shaking in their locker rooms before kickoff.
Anyway. 615-737-1045, that's the number. But I'm curious to know how people are consuming this because, is there a result necessarily this weekend that benefits the Titans, right? If the Bengals win and the Chiefs lose, does that do anything for Tennessee? Not really, right? I mean, other than it would be an insane upset, and I think Joe Burrow in a Super Bowl would be just mind-blowing right now because I don't think they're anywhere close to as good as they have been able to get to. Respectfully, I think the Bengals are a fun football team, and I think that they're going to end up being much, much better. But they feel like they're just here a year too early, which, by the way, is how the Titans felt in 2019. It felt like they were just a little bit early. And they had gotten a few breaks, and they have some talented football players, so they made it to the conference championship game. Maybe the Bengals are something closer to that. But the Niners and the Rams, that doesn't impact Titans fans at all. And I don't think people are going to enjoy, I think most people are going to hate watch or gamble, which is probably the more appropriate way to look at things.
Hate gamble?
Hate gamble.
That sounds dangerous.
With the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789, all right? Be careful out there if you hate gambling. I feel like people are going to watch the AFC Championship game. They're going to turn it on here in Nashville, Tennessee, and be like, you know what, that sucks. That should have been Lower Broadway. The Power and Lights District in Kansas City that now gets to host the AFC Championship game, they're going to be looking at that and just shaking a fist at their television and then maybe pull a Bills or a Cowboys fans and shove your fist through the television screen because of your blind sports rage. I don't know how people are consuming the football this weekend, but we can find out. Let's go to Jalen in Memphis, who's up next on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Jalen?
Hey, Buck. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, buddy.
Well, first off, I just want to say about the Bengals or the Titans being scared of the Bengals. Yeah, that's full malarkey.
Not Mike Malarkey, but full malarkey.
Yes, full malarkey. But I wanted to get into who I wanted to win this weekend, and I was more so leaning towards the Bengals. It's a great underdog story, but after seeing that, I kind of don't care. So.
Oh, the graphic has turned you off. You were close. You were getting there, but the graphic has turned you off.
I was close, and then all of a sudden I saw that, and I was like, well, Patrick Mahomes can do it again. I don't care at this point.
Yeah,
I feel like to watch football.
I feel like you speak for a lot of people, Jalen. Thanks for the call. I mean, yeah, we knew that the Titans were scared of us thing from C.J. Uzomah. It's just, for what? I mean, what are you really trying to tell me that Jeffrey Simmons was scared of number 77, who he physically picked up? Is that the proper grammar? Picked up and threw like a child, a 300-pound, 6-foot-something offensive lineman picked up by another human being and just shaken like a rag doll and then thrown at Joe Burrow for one of 9 sacks, probably should have been 11. Like that guy was scared of you? Why? Why do we do this? Other than it's great conversation. So shout out to CJ Uzomah, because athletes are never that honest about those kind of things. And the Bengals, they just got here. So what do they know? Let's go to Darrington, who wants to yell at me this morning. What you got?
Hello, friends.
You can't have my thing. That's my thing.
Well, how about this? This is going to be brought to you today by Buddy Allen Capricorn with the softest niggas in the game. People, also make sure you check in the install where the tape has no opinion.
There it is.
Okay. All right. Buck, when in doubt, we got to take you out. It's your fault. You have an ad going on right now that plays on, I know it came on 3HL, where you say specifically, after rewatching the game or any highlight, you should feel gut-wrenched, disappointed, upset, sick, just distraught. Like, who shot your puppy? That's what you say. So you wonder why they're calling in like that? Because you keep reminding them, just keep pouring alcohol on the open wound. Why don't you? And then you're going to have people ready to jump off the building again. That's what keeps going. It's a never-ending circle.
Are you saying that? Are you accusing me of pushing people towards self-harm, Darrington? Are you accusing us of doing that?
Yeah, no, I'm not accusing us. I'm accusing you. Oh, fucker. It's only you. And then before I go get out of here, I have to say this because it means something, because she's a guest that comes on this show all the time. Jeff Garcia, run your mouth again. You ever speak on me in the crime? I'll find you. Don't believe I'll find you. You speak on my Seahawks. I'll find you. And you ain't won nothing either, homie. You had Jerry Rice and T.O. What did you do? All right, people, if you ain't doing nothing, make sure you're on the airways tonight. Lucas Panzica will be calling the basketball game tonight. Check in, tune in. It's Friday night. Titans ain't playing no time this weekend. Y'all ain't doing nothing else. Keep watching football and tighten up. Love you, Bucker.
Oh, my God. Why is he better at this than us?
That was an all-time call by Darrington.
Hey, you know what? He's right. Bleep Jeff Garcia. I don't know if maybe we'll talk about the Jeff Garcia Mina Kimes thing coming up next. That pissed me off. That really pissed me off. But okay, you sit here with me for 3 hours every day. It's unclear how much of me you actually listen to for 3 hours a day, but you're here with me. You're physically here with me. You think I've been too doom and gloom about this crap?
I mean, Darrington is fair in what he's saying. It was a great call. First, he goes at Jeff Garcia, and then he lauds me and Slay's high school basketball coverage. Always going to get credit for that. And then
Beach
he
High
holds
School.
you accountable because at Beach High School tonight, there is a promo running where you are saying you should be absolutely gut-wrenched. You should be heartbroken. I mean,
they should be.
Okay.
That sucked.
Then you can't get upset at people for calling in like the world is ending.
I'm not upset at
because
people.
They are gut-wrenched.
Buddy, this is how I pay my mortgage. I'm not upset at people. What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? Here's my thing. Like, after the fact, that was the way that I was processing it in real time. That was from Monday, right? And listen, I don't hear the promos before they go in rotation, but I absolutely stand by that because I was sitting in a stadium, in an empty Nissan stadium that had been prepared all week long with a week off of football for the number one team in the AFC to host playoff games, plural there. And what I saw was people in the stands awestruck by the fact that their football team fell that kind of short again. And it's not just that moment, although this feels like the moment that they had the best opportunity to win for the first time in a long time. Not just because it was the first time that they've had the first overall seed since 2008 and the last time before 2000. Like, not just because of that, because of the talent, because of the window, because of the roster construction, because of the messaging from the organization in the offseason, where they said, give me Julio Jones and $16.5 million Bud Dupree. I want to go win a Super Bowl. And then again, they went one and done in the playoffs at home. And people just looked disgusted by that. So, yeah, I was just telling you what I saw while I was at the stadium. You should feel that way. That's the worst part of sports. It's what keeps us hooked. It's deeply addictive, this feeling that we as sports fans all have about our favorite teams when they rip our hearts out, and then we just go right back to it, because this is one of the most enjoyable things about sports, the constant pursuit of that championship, even as it kills you every time that they fall short of it. 615-737-1045. That's the number. We got Spencer in Nashville up next on 1045 The Zone. What's up, Spencer?
What's going on, Buck? Man, happy Friday, guys. I'm going to try to cover this down in under 60 seconds so I don't get the music.
Okay.
So here we go. Tannehill. It almost reminds me of a bunch of people that want to go get a divorce. Everybody's all excited whenever he's doing good. He's rocking out. And then as soon as he bombs, well, it's time to go find the grass on the other side. Well, here's the problem with that. When Titans as a whole throughout the season, which was one of the best Titans I have seen in a long time, if they were given a C-plus grade during that game, Tannehill was stepping up giving a B-plus, A-minus grade. And I was standing behind Tannehill all year long. And I'm going to have to say, during the playoff game, he bombed it. And he bombed it bad. But that's just a fact. People are going to have an off game. And he had one. He definitely had one. But he is a quality quarterback. He's a quality leader. And throughout the season, when our Titans needed someone to step up, he stepped up. And just because your spouse might mess up one time or might not do something you don't like, you don't immediately jump into a divorce. And that's what they're doing right now with Tannehill. So many of our fans are trying to divorce Tannehill to move on. We got the team. We definitely got the coach. So we know he's got it. We know he can do it. And that's really what I got, guys. Stand behind at what you got. Oh, and so music's on. I'm out.
There it is. Thank you, Spencer. Yeah, if you're new to the game, I feel like, do I need to remind people every day about the rules? I don't think I've done that today. We get new people all the time, though. If you hear the music, your call has exceeded 60 seconds. We swear we didn't steal that from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Lucas and I aren't far enough in the new season to know that Larry David did that bit and that we are accidentally ripping off Larry David. But still good nonetheless. His point is well taken, right? And I like the analogy of your partner, your significant other, your spouse. If something happens within the relationship, if they let you down in some kind of way that is consequential. Now, I know there's significantly more importance to a relationship than there is to a football game. Let's not conflate those two things entirely. But the analogy of, hey, yeah, if somebody lets you down in a relationship, but it's not like the end of the world, right? You're probably not going to bring out the divorce papers right out the gate. Now, why this feels bigger than last time, right? Why this feels bigger than 2020 in the wild card round when the Ravens came in here and beat you. It feels different because Tannehill was not outright bad against the Ravens. He wasn't good enough, but he wasn't outright bad. Lamar Jackson just kind of broke you over his knee with, what was it, a 58-yard touchdown run? It's like a third down. They'd gotten the interceptions off Lamar Jackson. They were getting to the quarterback efficiently. They were playing well as a defense in a year where there just was precious little good defense played. And then the offense fell short. And so you look at that and you say, okay, there's some stuff there that you look at. And Ryan Tannehill wasn't outright bad, but he wasn't good enough to win you that game. But then you get to this year and everything's going your way. Injuries lining up for you. Derrick Henry's back. Home playoffs. You get to host Super Bowl runs through Nashville if you just do your job. And what do? They just bury you. Bury you with the turnovers. But when I was talking to Keith Bullock, what was that, Tuesday, Lucas, when Keith was in studio with us? And I wanted to talk to Keith about this because, he's played with different kinds of quarterbacks throughout the course of his career. He's been a defender in those spots when you're able to completely change the momentum with the kind of plays that the Bengals made. And what Keith Bullock said to us, and what the analysis has been from all the smart football people all week long, is that you cannot put all of the blame at the feet of that quarterback.
The defense came out fierce, almost to the point like they're all right, happy that there was a pick and they got to go out there on the field and do their thing.
You were glad to see them.
Yeah, and they answered the call, and that's what it's all about. But as the game went along, I really felt that, with all the options the Titans had offensively, you got Hilliard, you got Derrick Henry back, you got Foreman who's been running like a madman, you got Julio, you got a full stable. I was just anticipating more creativity from the offensive playbook. Now it's easy to go back and be like, Ryan Tannehill.
So basically, what Keith is saying, I would have expected more creativity on offense. And not looking at Ryan Tannehill and being like, yeah, dude, you just outright lost that game. And Keith talked about a bunch of different stuff, right? The fact that you're not mother bleeping that guy in the locker room afterwards. You need him. You got to pick him up. You need that guy to get back to the level that he's capable of playing at. I think that's people's larger issue with the situation. We got Charlie in Franklin, who's up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, my friend, I appreciate you taking the call. So I'm a Titans fan as well, and it's starting to sound more like Dallas every year with, it should have been our year, it could have been our year. And, you can't go into it realistic expectations, dropping games to the Jets, getting blown out by the Texans, and expect that it's your year. I feel like after listening to these calls, I want to drive to my job and quit and tell my boss that I want to become a bookie in Nashville because everyone's betting with their hearts instead of their heads. Yeah. So let me take a different angle on this, and I'm really going to ruffle some feathers, but that's okay. You're a GM with limited time with the talent that you have right now. Would you put on the trading block in one of the most amazing free agencies in the world right now that we've seen in recent years? Would you make a run and try to get an Aaron Rodgers and a Devontae Adams combination here, or possibly even trade a Tannehill, A.J. Brown for Russell Wilson and Metcalf? Thanks for taking the call, guys.
Man, Charlie's going all in with the trade machine, baby.
Full burn it down mode.
He wants it gone. He wants a whole new quarterback, a whole new wide receiver. Here's what I'd say. And we talked about this with Mike Sando yesterday, right? If there's a deal out there that makes sense for Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, all right, even as unrealistic as I believe that to be, of course you explore that. Nobody's telling you that you cannot try and explore all possibilities available to you. But the issue with those things, not to completely dismiss Charlie's proposition, but who's going to take Tannehill's contract? That's the thing that's holding all of this up. Seattle doesn't want Ryan Tannehill after they've had Russell Wilson. Green Bay doesn't want that. You've got to find some place to move him before you can talk about who you can acquire. And by the way, those two guys aren't free agents. They're not free agents. They're still under contract with their football teams, and both publicly, if maybe not privately, saying, yeah, we think about coming back. We'll continue this conversation. Lines are loaded. If you want to jump in, we'll get to you as soon as humanly possible. 615-737-1045. I'm also going to tell you who the quarterback playing this weekend is that's under the most pressure to perform. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back on this Friday. People have been passionate about how they're consuming football this weekend. I am a little surprised that people are just, even with gambling, people are just this broken up about the way that the Titan season ended, that they cannot bring themselves to watch football this weekend. Or if you're hate watching or hate gambling, Tennessee Redline, as we mentioned, that's available to you. Be careful out there. But with these games in particular, you know, I personally am excited to see what the result is. I think it's very, very possible, if not likely, that we see a rematch of the 2019 Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs against Jimmy Garoppolo and the San Francisco 49ers. A game, by the way, that the Niners were, 2 Jimmy G throws away from winning? Completely changes the narrative around Patrick Mahomes if that takes place. They've got arguably a better defensive line now. And we saw last season how the Bucs just absolutely peppered the Chiefs back there, understanding that their offensive line was trash at the time. But people don't seem to care about that here in Nashville, and that's fine. I'm curious what else you got. I mean, I know what I'm going to do with my time because we have lots of sports to talk about. And so as long as there's live sports to talk about, I think we should talk about it. But Darrington brought up earlier that there's a promo going around on these airwaves of me being too doom and gloom. Lucas, did you find the promo? Because I never hear these things. I want to play this live, and then I want to react to it, and then we'll go back to the phones. Let's hear the promo.
The Buck Reising Show. The result is even more improbable the more times you watch that back. You should be livid, absolutely sick to your stomach for what it is that happened in the divisional round against the Bengals. The Buck Reising Show today.
Sick to your stomach. And fast forward a few days. I can't believe why are Titans fans so mad?
My God, am I pretentious? I sound like a jerk. Why don't you tell me that more often? Like I never listen to myself talk. I sound like a D-bag. You should be sick. And then doesn't understand why people are telling me that they're crying in their cars on the way home from a
Well, he corrected himself. He's like, well, I didn't cry. I almost shed a tear.
You're correct.
It's okay to cry.
It's okay. We're here. We're here to audio. It's an audio hug. We're trying to give you an audio hug for 3 hours. Nobody wants it, though. 615-737-1045. We got Espy in Nashville up next on 1045 The Zone. What's up?
What's up, Buck? I was bumming after that Titans loss. I was crying in my car. I typically go to Ross Dress for Less parking lot and cry. So I was crying, not watching any more football last weekend, but coming this weekend, that gambling itch might get me.
Sure.
I might watch a few games. So now, besides that, I'm focused on college basketball, War Eagle, and cryptocurrency. Dogecoin to the moon.
Oh, be careful out there. That's been a tough week for crypto, bud.
I know. Time to buy it up. Buy the dip, baby.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me. I'm kind of not too excited about football these days.
I get it. Just make sure you're not loitering too long in the. As he say, the Ross Dress for Less parking lot. It's not funny for me to laugh at something like that. If somebody is actually doing that, I assume SB is kidding with us a little bit. But now I have just a hilarious image of some dude in like the flame headgear. You know what I'm talking about? Like my guy that's dressed out like a physical human torch at the Titans game, just weeping with the two-tone blue makeup running down the face in the Ross Dress for Less parking lot. What am I supposed to do with that? 615-737-1045. I'm worried about you guys. Come on. Stay with me. But with all the conversation around this weekend, I think there's a ton of pressure on Matt Stafford. I really do. Talking about quarterbacks who need to live up to the expectation, to perform up to expectation. And we can talk about this within the context of Ryan Tannehill coming up next. But Matt Stafford, as the quarterback of the Rams, now freed from the shackles of the Detroit Lions and all their postseason lack of success and even lack of postseason appearances. This man has a lot to prove to us, just as Ryan Tannehill had a lot to prove to us in the divisional round. Conference championship weekend is going to be big for Matt Stafford. This was him speaking with the media earlier this week about going up against a team that swept them in the regular season.
Hey, Matthew, just with this being your first ever championship week, can you guys kind of take us through what you're feeling mentally, if you kind of feel any extra amped up or whatnot, and how you look at this matchup with a third matchup with the 49ers?
Obviously excited about the opportunity, but going about it kind of as a normal week. It's first normal week we've had in a little bit. Obviously playing the first playoff game on a Monday and the second one on a short week. So this one just feels like a normal week during the season. Obviously a lot at stake. We know that. Playing a really good opponent that's playing, as good a football as anybody in the NFL right now. So it'll be a big challenge for us, but we're excited about the opportunity.
That's a quarterback for a bunch of nothing. Just a bunch of nothing in 30 seconds. But he is under a tremendous amount of pressure. He is going to have a difficult matchup against the San Francisco 49ers this weekend. And does the conversation around Stafford change if they were to lose this game as the higher-seeded team hosting their divisional rival, who would then own 3 wins in a season over Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams after they went all in? You want to talk about going all in. Odell Beckham Jr., Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matt Stafford. There is so much that the Rams have tried to do, and people want the Titans to operate that way as well, where you just say, future be damned. We're pushing in the chips for this Super Bowl, or as many different cracks at a Super Bowl as we can get with this team. And I want to get into that coming up next. Your phone calls as well. Stick with us if you've been hanging out. I know there's a lot of people that have been trying to get in. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the matchups and go through the X's and O's of that Titans-Bengals game from Coach Dave McGinnis' perspective. He'll join us at 11:20 as well. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. Jeff Fisher is back in the business. The former Titans head coach was named the next head coach of the Michigan Panthers in the USFL. Meanwhile, the Titans' current coach picked up his second postseason award. Mike Vrabel was named the Pro Football Writers Association NFL Coach of the Year. The AP NFL Coach of the Year award will be given out February 10th, the Thursday before Super Bowl 56. The Preds are headed back to Nashville after taking 3 out of 4 possible points on a road trip, most recently a shootout loss to the Edmonton Oilers just last night. They'll get a bit of a break before returning to Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday to host the Vancouver Canucks. Big Saturday of college hoops coming up tomorrow. Tennessee men's basketball headed down to Austin on Saturday for the SEC Big 12 Challenge. The 18th-ranked Vols will take on the Texas Longhorns. That tip-off coming at 7 p.m. Catch Vol Network coverage right here on The Zone. Elsewhere in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, Alabama takes on the defending national champion 4th-ranked Baylor Bears at 3, and 12th-ranked Kentucky will visit 5th-ranked Kansas for a 5 p.m. tip-off. Vanderbilt will keep it in the SEC on Saturday, a 5 p.m. tip against last place Georgia in Memorial Gym. Conference championship weekend in the NFL. 4 teams battling it out to determine the matchup in Super Bowl 56. It all starts on Sunday. The AFC Championship, the Kansas City Chiefs host the Cincinnati Bengals, a 2 p.m. kickoff, and the NFC Championship between Rams and Niners kicks off at 5:30 from SoFi Stadium. Catch all the action right here on The Zone, courtesy of Westwood One. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 is upon us on this Friday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. So happy to have you guys along for the ride. Coach Mac, Dave McGinnis, he's going to be here in less than 20 minutes from now. And you can jump in throughout the course of that. Should we take phone calls for Mac? You want to do that today? I feel like people, I don't know if maybe we don't want to put Mac through that. We'll think about it. 615-737-1045. The phone lines are open right now. We've been talking about pressure on the quarterbacks this weekend: Stafford, Garoppolo, Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. And basically running it through the prism of Ryan Tannehill, who both he and Aaron Rodgers, first round or divisional round exit, one and done in the postseason. People clamoring for all kinds of different players at the quarterback position here next year, but kind of ignoring what's happening around them. Because I think that the conversation around Matt Stafford has the ability to, it's going to drastically shift if they lose 3 games in one season to the 49ers, especially with how limited Jimmy Garoppolo is. So pressure is on Stafford. The most to prove, though, I think is Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is an interesting case study, especially given the conversation that we've been having here since the Titans got bounced. Jimmy G's an interesting case study for how far can you go with quarterback limitations. And what I'll say about Garoppolo is this. All he has done is win since he's been a starting quarterback. So I don't think that the conversation around him, that the narrative around Garoppolo has been necessarily fair. Does he have clear and obvious limitations? Of course he does. Nobody is disputing that. He has won 2 playoff games this postseason while throwing 2 interceptions and no touchdowns. He is not being asked to do a whole hell of a lot, but he is still the point man on this offense. And in fact, he's thrown an interception in every game. He's got 6 interceptions in his last 4 games to 2 touchdowns.
And most of them are really bad.
Oh, yeah. Like they're the death pick, right? We talk about quarterbacks who throw the death pick, the death interception that you feel coming in your soul. Phillip Rivers, famously. That's why Phil Rivers, his face always looks like that. It's why he's very gifable if you're somebody who exists on the internet. Phil Rivers throws the death pick. Jimmy Garoppolo throws the worst of the death picks. And his team still finds ways to win around him and to win with him. 3rd and 7, right? That was the biggest play call in the Niners-Green Bay game when San Francisco went into Lambeau and upset Aaron Rodgers in the other top seed in the NFC. And 3rd and 7, they choose to run the ball and they convert, which one to me says you don't trust your quarterback to get 7 yards on a passing play when he's only thrown. Lucas, how many passing attempts, without looking it up, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo threw in a win against the Green Bay Packers, 13-10?
I'm going to go with 17.
19 attempts for Jimmy Garoppolo. He was 11 of 19, 131, and a pick. They're not sacked 4 times, so he was under pressure. Green Bay had a good defense, so it's not like you can give him a lot of credit. But like the problem with Jimmy Garoppolo and sacking Jimmy Garoppolo is they don't drop him back. Like they don't do a ton with him. 19 attempts is about where you want to exist. So with those kind of quarterback limitations, to bring it back to a local tie, okay, how far away are you from that? Because all they do is find ways to hide the limitations as best as humanly possible of the quarterback. Now, Kyle Shanahan is a higher quality, higher caliber. He's a head coach as opposed to Todd Downing, who's now twice an offensive coordinator with 2 different franchises. And by the way, which we'll talk about in this hour, I very much believe him to be the offensive coordinator in 2022. Even as I'm getting tweets, people DMing me saying, are they just waiting until after the Pro Bowl to fire him? Because the Titans coaching staff is coaching the Pro Bowl. It's the Titans staff versus the Packers in the Pro Bowl. So instead of Los Angeles, Vrabel and them get a trip to Las Vegas. But with all that being said, how far away are you from what the Niners are able to do? Based on how you're built, right? There's not a lot of teams that play football the way that the 49ers do, the way that the Titans do, the way that they predicate their style of play. And basically what we talked about yesterday is are they on the verge, are they on the edge of an existential crisis in the AFC where you got to sit down during this offseason and legitimately contemplate the idea, okay, if we've tried this now 4 straight years with the way that the Titans are built, the way that the Titans play football, with a specific kind of offense that is unlike most in the NFL, with our commitment to the run. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because it wins football games. Mike Vrabel has consistently found a way to produce at a high level and to achieve at a high level with the roster as currently constructed and with the style of play that they favor. But who among us watched the divisional round between the Chiefs and the Bills on Sunday night and said, yeah, Titans would have had a shot against those 2 teams right now? Josh Allen's getting sent home throwing 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and looking as good as he has ever looked. Mahomes isn't bombing the ball, bombing the throws down the field. He didn't have a completion over 20 yards in the air. Yards after catch is how they were getting those explosive plays for Kansas City, meaning that Mahomes has now adopted a more refined style of offense as opposed to just running all over the place and making these mind-blowing throws. He's gotten better. Who among us watched that divisional round game between the Chiefs and the Bills and said, yeah, the Titans style of play is best equipped to not just compete, but to beat these 2 teams, even as I understand that they won against both of those teams in the regular season. So with all that being said, how far can you get with the limitations that you have at quarterback? Niners this weekend are going to be a good case study because if they make a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo twice, you can't tell me nothing about Ryan Tannehill not being good enough to win a Super Bowl. Just needs more help.
But on the most pressure discussion between Garoppolo and Stafford, because you said Stafford, right? Like 2 different things, most pressure and most to prove.
Stafford is under the most pressure. Jimmy Garoppolo has the most to prove.
And I agree at face value, but who has more to lose?
Well, I would say Matt Stafford. Older, the Rams' longevity it's not going to last this way. right? That roster is very much like win now or bust. Because at some point, they're going to have to figure out the money because they have made some crazy decisions. And by the way, it's worked. The 2 times that they've pushed all in for the Super Bowl rosters, it's worked. But their cap is going to be, they're going to have to find solutions at some point. They can't continue to accumulate talent like this and at value. Odell Beckham Jr. coming available for pennies is ridiculous. That doesn't happen in, like, you know, if you're a Marvel movie fan, right? The multiverse. You got 17 different scenarios of what the Odell Beckham Jr. situation can be, and it's never going to look as cheap as it does right now, except for one scenario, which the Rams have found themselves in, and trading with the Broncos for Von Miller. Like, at some point, you have to rectify those situations financially. Jerry in White Bluff is up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, is this Buck the Jerk?
Yes, it is. In fact, it is.
I'm sorry. I just want to speak a little bit on Tannehill and a few of the quarterbacks that's in there now.
Sure.
If you'll thank Matthew Stafford when he was at Detroit, what did he do? Nothing. He had no support, had no one around him, anybody to help that guy at all. And what happens? He plays for years and years, and he loses. And all of a sudden, he gets to a team that he's surrounded by players that help, and all of a sudden, Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback. Look here, it takes a team, and that's what's happening with Tannehill right now. Tannehill has been a journeyman, and don't y'all cut me off quick like you've been doing. Hang in here with me. You would be a jerk, but here's the thing, buddy. Tannehill's a journeyman himself. He's been around the NFL forever with Miami and different teams, and it's just like Mariota. I'm not changing subjects right quick, but it's just like Mariota. All of a sudden, we thought we'd find a savior in Mariota. Where's he at now? He's a ball boy for some team. I mean, I hate to say that. I love the guy. He could run and do crazy things like Mahomes is doing now, and I thought, boy, we got us a quarterback, but where's he at? I'm thinking our hopes is going to be free agency, but do it smart, and don't worry about getting a top 10 pick coming up and all on the draft and all that. And we're going, we've missed them. Look at the greatest of all time, the GOAT, Brady. He was 4th, 5th round. And I'm going to hang up, and I know I got you a lot. There comes the music, so just hang in there and let me see what you think. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jerry. It speeds him up. Jerry said, don't play that music. Nobody is immune from the
you
music.
waste precious seconds when you say don't play that music.
I was about to say, you're on a shot clock, Jerry.
Music's
Everybody
going to be played regardless.
The music, there is nothing in our ecosystem. We have a very fragile ecosystem as a show. There is nothing that can disrupt the music. Nothing takes precedent over the music. We have to know this. There have to be rules. There has to be structure.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks for the call, Jerry.
I do want people to know we appreciate that.
Oh, hell yes. But yeah, listen, you got to play the game by the rules, all right? Just like football. There are rules. We have to follow the rules. But to Jerry's point, again, Stafford is a higher quality and caliber of quarterback, talent-wise, than Ryan Tannehill. Now, talent does not supersede all. You guys know this. You can have all the talent in the world. And like Titans fans hate J.J. Watt, right? But there is no disputing J.J. Watt's greatness as a player and his talent at the position. And all the good that the talent did J.J. Watt without teammates around him that could support that talent. Defensive end or defensive tackle, which he's basically been in Arizona, much different than the quarterback situation. You have to have competent quarterback play to go above and beyond, to exceed your potential. But with Tannehill and Stafford, there is no disputing that the situations are similar in that when Ryan Tannehill came to Tennessee, they found ways to maximize his talent more than any other time, more than any other season that we had seen in Miami. Matt Stafford, the same kind of situation has happened. One may be physically more talented at playing the position than the other. There are few people, I think, who would raise their hands and say, yeah, give me Ryan Tannehill over Matt Stafford if they were just on a neutral, nebulous team. But I think you can still have those same kind of conversations about, all right, McVay's figured it out with Stafford. Shanahan's figured it out with Garoppolo. What can Mike Vrabel do more to support that player at the position as long as he remains on the roster? Which, by the way, may only be one more season. But that's the one more season that you got. More of your phone calls coming up next. Coach Dave McGinnis will join us. We'll talk about Conference Championship Week. We'll go through the Tannehill stuff with Coach Mack. That's next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. That music on a Friday means Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio. He's going to join us here in just a moment. Talk about some of this football that's going to be played between the Niners, the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. I also want to get his assessment of Ryan Tannehill since we've been talking about quarterback limitations today. But until Coach Mack joins us, you can jump in on the conversation. 615-737-1045. We got Mahogany, who's in Nashville, up next on 104.5 The Zone. What you got, boss?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Not much.
Yeah, hey, so I agree with you on Stafford and Garoppolo as far as most pressure and most approved. Because Stafford, I mean, dude, you've been here. You had a Hall of Fame receiver in Detroit. Like, come on, it's time to put up or shut up. But and I also want to say, man, yeah, you're part of the reason why we've been sad this week. We've been pounding the table at how bad that game was on Saturday, which we all saw.
It was bad.
Mind you. So, look, man, I listened to your show on Monday, and I listened to Michael Johnson's Bluer Than Blue for the rest of the day on my route. So it's your fault. I'm good now, but it's your fault. I blame you, Buck. Hashtag healthy relationship. I'll holler at you.
Thanks, Mahogany. 615-737-1045. Listen, if I will shoulder my portion of the blame for all the doom and gloom that's been had around here. But there's no time for that necessarily. There's time only for X's and O's talk because Coach Dave McGinnis is going to join us from Titans Radio here in just a second. He is presented, as always, by Farm Bureau Health Plans, like an extra set of pads since 1947. They have been protecting Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Health Plans, the best in the business. And they always make Coach Mack's visits possible. What I want to get into with him is kind of the conversation around the quarterback specifically, because that's where the most criticism of any player is coming. I know that Mack will have watched this game back several times. I know that he'll also have done some advanced scouting on the draft side of things. And by the way, there's probably, honestly, the question that I want to start with Coach Mack, who joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Mack, the people are asking whether you're going to join Jeff Fisher's staff with the Michigan USFL team. Do you want to break any news here?
Yeah, I won't. I won't be. No, I've known about this for quite a while. You know, visiting with Fish, I will absolutely go down there. They're all going to be sequestered, or they're going to be based out of Birmingham for the first year. All the teams are. They're going to be in Birmingham. They're going to have offices. Every team will have offices down there. Every team will practice down there. Every team will play games down there in 2 stadiums. They're in Birmingham. Jeff and I went to Birmingham quite a bit when the Alliance was going on.
Yeah.
You know, because so anyway, I will be down there several times. I'll probably go down there when he first starts to see what the setup is. But as far as dedicating 3 months to coaching down there, I will not be doing that.
Okay. I just figured, we ask the tough questions around here, Mac. I just wanted to make sure that we get to keep you around for a while. Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Mac, help me understand what I saw from Ryan Tannehill on Saturday. That's where the majority of the criticism is being placed on by people who watched that game, by fans who have watched that game. I want to know how you assess Ryan Tannehill's performance.
Well, the criticism is going to be there because you threw 3 interceptions in a playoff game.
Right.
And so that's just the way it is. That's what it is in the National Football League. And when you step up to the higher platforms. Well, then if you're not successful and you're not successful within the game, then you're going to get the criticism, especially as the quarterback. And so the interceptions are going to warrant criticism, and then it's going to that's going to be the talk, and that's just what it is. I mean, I was when. Anytime the interception, the first, all 3 of the interceptions. I mean, when you go back and look at them, in hindsight, you could say, well, you probably shouldn't have done this, and you probably shouldn't have done that.
Sure.
Look, this guy's been the quarterback since he took over in the 3rd quarter against Denver and has won a lot of games. But we didn't win that game, which was a big build-up game, as all the playoff games I've ever been involved in are huge build-up games. And if you don't perform in them, well, then the letdown is really big, and so the criticism is going to be big. So that's what it is. I mean, and you can analyze them
any way that you want to and try to put a spin on it, like, should have done this, or maybe should have been better this, or maybe the scheme should be better. Or none of that stuff matters. What matters is when the time came up, you threw the picks, and so that's where all of this criticism is going to come from, and you just know it's going to be there if that happens in a game of that magnitude. That's the way I look at it.
Coach Dave McGinnis is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. From that standpoint, Mac, the game itself, I looked, and I talked about this with Greg Cosell earlier in the week. I couldn't say that I was surprised by the game itself because, as Mike Vrabel told us after the game was over, that was very much their style of play. It's just, as we've seen several times this year, the turnovers damned them. The way that they played football, there was nothing about the way that they came out and ran their offense that surprised you, obviously, correct?
Well, I mean, they had some different things, for that defense, and it was we saw this football team this year, Buck, against lesser opponents. When you turn it over a lot, you have a hard time winning, right? And then we also saw them. I mean, I was on the phone doing interviews today out in L.A. and in the Bay Area, and the one thing that both of the questions I got was, how did this team beat those two teams in the same year? And I said, well, just playing like they did. They were physical, and they ran the football, and they were able to play good defense, and they made plays when they had to, which is usually the way you win, most games. And so it really, and there are different ways to win football games, and not one way is better than the other.
Right.
But what happens is when you lose a game of that magnitude, again, and look, I've taken calls all week on a lot of shows I've been on out of this market. Rhett and I and Amy and Mike did Mike Vrabel's show Monday night, took all the calls, and people are very, very much entitled to express their opinions. They're very much entitled to express all those things, because when you're invested in something, as these fans were very invested in this football team. I mean, you were there Friday night at the pep rally, just like I was. I mean, you've been to all the games, especially here, even on the road. You've seen the Titans fans. And so when you lose, it's a huge disappointment. And part of the fact of being able to get that out of you is being able to emote and talk about your emotions about it. So any of that stuff to me is I welcome all of that. But as I said, I was on the phone in L.A., I was in the Bay Area, and their questions were, how'd this team here beat them this year just pretty well?
Yeah. Speaking of different ways to win a football game, Mac, that's kind of what the 49ers have done, how they've made it into this Final Four. Their quarterback is obviously they've been successful, hugely successful with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, but the way that they lean on different elements of their offense to make Jimmy not the most important part of their system, I think is pretty interesting. What do you see when you see this 49ers team and the way that they've kind of progressed since that Thursday night football game here in Nashville?
Well, the same thing I saw. You and I talked about the Niners going into that Thursday night game. When we broke it down on your show before we played them. The thing that they've got a very intricate run game.
Yeah.
And their run game is it puts a lot of pressure on a defense, and that's what Kyle Shanahan. Look, that's what Mike Shanahan did. That's the way that he won his Super Bowls, right? I mean, he won his Super Bowls with kind of the same thing and Kyle's taken it and done the same thing with it. This is what this offense is. It's what Sean McVay's offense is. Now they put their different spins on it as the way they do it, but I mean, this all goes back to what Mike Shanahan did. But when you look at the 49ers, I mean, they lean on their run game, and then they disperse their quarterback, throughout it when people start to crowd the line of scrimmage again. And then one of the smartest things they did, or the most innovative thing, or one of the most productive thing, whichever adjective you want to use, is when they put Deebo Samuel back there and started handing him the football in a lot of really critical points in the game. You'll see them do that. So that's what I see when I look at their offense. I mean, that's the big thing. You've got to be able to defend all manner of their run game, and then you've got to be able to hold up to one-on-one when you bring everybody up to be able to take care of all the different run avenues that they explore.
San Francisco's obviously had a ton of success against the Rams while Kyle Shanahan and McVay have been coaching them, respectively. Mac, you've drafted a lot of those players. You scouted a lot of those players. I know there's been some time since that's passed with that LA defense, but how difficult of a matchup are the 49ers specifically for the way that this defense in LA is constructed?
Well, they've been able to run the football on them, Buck. Go back and look at all the games. They've been able to run the football on them, and running the football does several things. And again, it's I know it's very elementary. It's elementary to our listeners because they're savvy football people. They move the chains, and when you do that, what you do is take series and take snaps away from an offense. Like now McVay, likes to spread it out and play action it and spin it, but he needs a lot of series to get that done in, so he can explore as to how the defense is going to play him. And how many times has the Niners beaten them? 6 times in a row? Is that correct?
I know they swept him this year. I don't know if it's 6 straight times. I'd have to look it up.
Well, don't look it up. We'll just keep talking here.
Okay.
But I know that they've beaten them. They've beaten them quite a bit, and when they do, they beat them running the play action and running the football is how they've beaten them.
Yeah, it's been a hugely effective strategy, and we know that that's very much what is in their DNA. On the other side of the bracket, Mac, when I look at the AFC matchup, Kansas City and Cincinnati, that game was a lot of fun in Cincinnati in the regular season with the way that the Chiefs got them down by 14 points twice, and you saw Joe Burrow and that offense be able to rally back. What do you like about this matchup coming up between these two teams, given the fact that they've already seen each other?
Well, the way Joe Burrow rallied back was the same way that the Titans beat Kansas City here. Is in that ball game. I went back and watched that ball game. Spags again brought everybody up the line of scrimmage and matched his guys up man to man across the board. Which, as we well know, if you've got any time at all for Burrow to throw, he's got people that can beat you one-on-one, right? And so, to me, the biggest matchup difference now, and what will be interesting to watch on Sunday, which I'll watch very closely, both of these games, is the fact is to see the way that Spagnuolo deploys his defense now against Cincinnati, rather than just man up everybody across the board. He's going to have to play some zone defense, and I think he will try to affect the middle of the pocket the same way that the Titans put on a clinic as far as 4-man rush, 4-man games against the Bengals offensive line.
Oh yeah,
I mean that is a clinic. And so to me, if Spags is a good defensive coach, been at it a long time, he's going to take a lot from that game as far as being able to play, disguised zone defenses behind what is going on with a 4-man pressure, and especially he will know which pockets to attack along that offensive front, because the Titans, when you go back and watch that part of the game, if you want to watch that part of it and just diagnose how they were attacking those 5 men that they had up there blocking, it's pretty much a clinic on how to get a pressure with 4 people running games.
Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. Mac, I've been saying, I'm dramatic. This is why I do sports talk radio for a week, but I've been banging the table that the Bengals offensive line does not deserve to be in the AFC Championship game for as much pressure as was allowed on that quarterback against the Titans in the divisional round. But Mac, people, everybody loves to armchair quarterback, or at least talking heads like I do. I go back and look at that game and the way that Burrow was not protected. I understand that they've had deficiencies on the offensive line all year long, but in a situation like that, what can the play caller, what can the coordinator, understanding that Zach Taylor calls their offense, what can they do to help protect that quarterback in a way that we maybe saw with Ryan Tannehill as the protection was breaking down around him, and you saw Todd Downing put in effective protection plans?
You got to keep more people in. You got to keep more people in. You got to go aggressive chipping rather than light chipping. I mean, there's a difference in the way you chip the edge, and you just got to be able. You've got to be able to reconcile to yourself that you're not going to be able to get 5 out in the pattern every time immediately. I mean, that's what has to happen. And then what you've got to do, if you're going to do that against a zone defense, you've got to be willing to take the short throws because the big long throws aren't going to be there when people are playing, zone defense against you, knowing that you are going to have to max protect against a four-man rush. I mean, that's the mindset that the play caller has to be able to take, and also the quarterback. He has to understand that I'm not going to have time to spin this thing down the field. I'm going to have to start, spitting it out pretty quick. The most explosive play that the Bengals had offensively was a 2-yard throw, right?
Right.
It was a 2-yard throw and a missed tackle and a 50-yard run. So that's the way you have to do it.
Coach Dave McGinnis, the best in the business. You can check out the Coach Mac and Titans Amy podcast. There's great content being produced there, and it's all brought to you by our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans who make Mac's visits possible with us each and every Friday. Mac, I always appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for the time.
Buck, you're going to the Senior Bowl, I understand. Good for you. That'll be good. You'll enjoy that.
I will be there. You're not going?
No, I'm not going. Mike Keith is actually going to do the game on Sirius XM radio.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea. Well, we'll have to chat with Mike about that. Yeah, I'm fired up for Mobile. I really am.
Well, I've been there about 30 times, so it's good. It's good. Look, and it's different than it used to be. I mean, I've coached in that game 4 or 5 times, and it's a good week. Especially now, I understand they're going to do interviews with the players on Zoom, because of still what's going on with the variant that's around. But what is good about it in coaching it, it used to be when were able to go down there and watch it, you could be on the field and everybody would circle up and just be real close to the drills. It's all removed now, and it has been for quite a while, even before the pandemic. But the good thing is, especially if you're coaching it, is that you get a chance to know these players, in the classroom, and you get to know them, just the way that they interact with people for a week. It's a valuable tool. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Lions and Jets staffs coaching the Senior Bowl this week. All right, Mac, I'm going to text you for some dinner recommendations because I know you'll steer me right.
There's plenty of places to eat down there, but you need to like spicy food, and you need to be ready to stand in line at some places, because guess what? There's only so many places to eat in Mobile, Alabama, and everybody knows where they are.
The whole league is there. Coach Dave McGinnis, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you, Mac.
See you, Buck.
Coach Mac with us every Friday, made possible by Farm Bureau Health Plans. All right, when we come back, I think there's some interesting stuff to pick at, and we've got some calls about coaching hire questions, one that I think is interesting on Nathaniel Hackett. So we'll get into that coming up next. Your phone calls as well. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Bad habits. 3 interceptions are bad habits. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Tough scene. And as we talked about with Coach Dave McGinnis, the criticism is warranted. We've been talking about that all week long. 615-737-1045. What we haven't spent a lot of time on really just yet, and certainly there will be a lot of discussion around it in the coming weeks, is Mike Vrabel and the Titans coaching staff will be coaching the Pro Bowl. It'll be the Titans coaching staff versus the Packers coaching staff. Highest seed available that gets eliminated coaches the Pro Bowl. So the 2 1 seeds will be doing that in Las Vegas next week while I'm at the Senior Bowl. And we'll have plenty of time for draft. But we haven't talked about the other hires that have been made around the NFL. And I think there's some curious ones when you look at the jobs that were available this season with the Raiders, which actually hasn't come open. Rick Bisaccia is still technically their head coach. The Saints have come available with Sean Payton leaving the Dolphins and firing Brian Flores. The Broncos have hired their head coach in Nathaniel Hackett. And I think there's a lot of, 9 total jobs in the NFL are available this time around or have been available at any given point. And I think you're going to see some legitimate sea change as we talk about existential crises for the Tennessee Titans as you figure out if this style of play works for you to try and overtake Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Kansas City as the entrenched teams, as the entrenched superpowers there. I think it's a pretty interesting conversation. Let's go to Dustin, who's in Nashville, up next on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Dustin?
Hey, Buck. How's it going, man?
Going well.
Long time 104.5 listener. I haven't called in probably 6-7 years. I'm a Broncos fan for life, but I've been in Tennessee 20 years, so the Titans have a special place in my heart. But I wanted to change it up for you. I know you've been talking to sad Titans fans for a few days now. This Nathaniel Hackett hiring over in Denver. As a Denver fan, I've grown used to constantly hiring these defensive gurus, bringing these old defensive guys who will set the tone.
John Fox, Vic Fangio, like you got Vance Joseph, you're all over the place.
Yeah, but even Kubiak, he was an offensive coach, but he'd been in the league for years. So I know the Aaron Rodgers rumors. Everyone's been talking about Aaron Rodgers coming to Denver for the last year now. I know this makes the possibility more likely. I just want to know what your opinion is on Nathaniel Hackett because I love your show and I like you as a football guy. So I respect your opinion. So I'm excited. Like, this has been exciting news for me. I don't know if it's because of the young, energetic coach or Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams potentially coming to Denver.
Yeah.
But, it's all potential at this point. But that's really all I got. Just wanted to tell you I love the show and wanted to hear your opinion on this. So thank you.
Thanks very much for the call, Dustin. Look at that. We're bringing people out 6-7 years removed from calling Sports Talk Radio. Yeah, the Nathaniel Hackett hire is interesting in Denver specifically because, and just to give it a kind of local tie, that's where the strongest connection has been drawn between Aaron Rodgers and a potential landing spot should Green Bay and Rodgers decide that a trade away from the Packers makes the most sense. Now, the Broncos, Jason Martin would be able to speak to this better than I am because he's a Broncos fan, right? Jason is like a legit Broncos fan. This is the 4th head coach that the Broncos have hired since 2015. I was actually listening to Robert Mays. In fact, Lucas, that'd be, since we're live producing the show, Robert Mays would be great to have on next weekend at some point because I was listening to Mays and Mike Sando break down the hires. And Nathaniel Hackett, he was the fall guy in Jacksonville, if you remember. Like, Nathaniel Hackett had to fall on the sword of Blake Bortles and Doug Marrone with the way that things happened there, when in fact that was probably the best coaching job done that season to elevate Bortles to the place that they got him when they were playing in an AFC Championship game. His family has been around football forever. It's the 6th, so it's 4 head coaches since 2015. They've had 6 since 2009. Broncos have low-key been down bad. Outside of winning the Super Bowl with broken Peyton Manning. They got lucky when he decided to take, not to be the LeBron James thing, but to take his talents to Denver. I think that the Hackett interesting is higher mostly because we've seen him have great success. If they want to adopt that style of play from Matt LaFleur, working under Matt LaFleur, to now Nathaniel Hackett heading to Denver with the potential of Aaron Rodgers, and connections drawn between Aaron Rodgers and the Broncos even last year. Wasn't Mark Schlereth out there like real loud on local Denver radio saying that this was the place that Aaron Rodgers was going to end up had he been traded last offseason? I remember that being like a legit headline.
I wonder how much the Peyton Manning move to Denver kind of helps that argument.
What do you mean?
I mean, it would be a similar thing, right? Get an offensive coach back there and kind of an aging veteran Hall of Fame quarterback coming to Denver and try to resuscitate that franchise.
Yeah, but I mean, Manning was like a legit free agent. Manning wasn't, because you're talking about you didn't have to mortgage anything for your future to get Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, it was like the first legit quarterback free agency we had seen, because people don't let those guys go. So when he ended up there, you weren't having to give up a lot. Now, you were having to spend a lot of money because they signed DeMarcus Ware. They had Von Miller already in the roster. They brought Aqib Talib in from New England. Like, they were shelling out money on defense. I think it's a really interesting hire because I got asked this question earlier. I'm pretty sure it's Jael on our YouTube chat where you can watch the show, was asking me, do I think that the Titans are at a disadvantage because they have a defensive-minded head coach? And so much of the NFL seems to be predicated on, all right, defense is a second-class citizen. You want points, you want touchdowns, you want yards, you want high-level quarterback play or anything that can get you closer to that. And we can talk about that coming up next. We're also going to get into some of this stuff on the USFL I think is interesting. Mickey Ryan is going to join us in studio because I was listening to him and Blaine yesterday. They were having a field day with the idea that Jeff Fisher is going to be a USFL coach because it brought back a lot of memories for a lot of people when alternative football leagues had legit star power. So we'll do that, and we'll have those conversations coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. Tennessee men's basketball is headed down to Austin on Saturday for the SEC Big 12 Challenge. The 18th-ranked Vols taking on the Texas Longhorns as Rick Barnes returns to where he spent 17 seasons and is the winningest coach in school history. Vols and Longhorns tip off at 7 p.m. Elsewhere in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, Alabama taking on the defending national champion 4th-ranked Baylor Bears at 3, and 12th-ranked Kentucky visits 5th-ranked Kansas for a 5 p.m. tip-off. Vandy will keep it in the SEC on Saturday, a 5 p.m. tip against last-place Georgia in Memorial Gym. Commodores have lost 3 in a row. Their last win came against the Bulldogs. That's not the only action in Music City tomorrow, as Belmont will host UT Martin at 2 p.m. from the Curb Center. It is Conference Championship weekend in the NFL. 4 teams battling it out to determine the Super Bowl 56 matchup, and the action starts on Sunday. The AFC Championship in Kansas City. The Chiefs host the Cincinnati Bengals. That kicks off at 2 p.m. And the NFC Championship between the LA Rams and San Francisco 49ers kicking off from SoFi Stadium, the home of Super Bowl 56. At 5:30. The underdog won the last matchup in both of these games. Cincy came back down 14 to beat KC by a field goal at home in Week 17. And San Francisco staged a 17-point comeback to beat the Rams in SoFi Stadium in overtime in Week 18. The Niners have won 6 in a row over the Rams. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
think Todd does a great job. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a hard worker, and there's always going to be calls you'd like to have back. There's plays you'd like to have back, but I don't evaluate things. I try to see how guys communicate with each other, the players. Are we all on the same page? Is there, good communication? How do we do on third down? How do we do in the red zone? And, things have to be better in all three phases each and every year. But, I love the relationship that Todd has with the assistant coaches and the players, and, we'll all continue to improve.
Hey, man, how are you? Hey, first-time caller here. I think I would like to say I think it's more of them not trusting Tannehill. You go back to last year, I don't think Arthur Smith really trusted him when you look at playoff games. And so if they're going to move forward with both of them, they're going to have to either learn to trust him or they're going to have to do something else, because you shouldn't have to run the ball 30 times in September to win a game with Derrick Henry. They need to really trust him early on and to work through these things so when they got to trust him, they know what he can do. What do you think?
So a lack of trust there is something, that's a notion that I would dispute. A lot of times you're just sat on a certain kind of philosophy. And the philosophy of the Titans is literally run the damn ball. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We got Jason in Smyrna who's up next. What's up, Jason?
Hey, there is no way I want to see the Bengals go all the way and win it, and then as a Titans fan be like, oh, that's so great. That's just stupid. What I want to see is I want to see somebody come out of Detroit, go to a different team, and finally win a championship. So I'm backing Matthew Stafford.
Okay. I appreciate the call, Jason. 615-737-1045. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing, right? Like if your team loses to one team, do you say, "Oh, well, I'll feel better about it if that team goes on to win the Super Bowl because at least we lost to the Super Bowl champs?" Like, Lucas, do you feel any better about the Vols losing to Alabama when you know Alabama's going to probably go on and win the championship, or are you just pissed?
I mean, I think that might be a poor example because at this point, the Alabama machine is just like, yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah. If you're really beating yourself up and getting heartbroken over losing to Alabama every year, like, got to reevaluate.
Well, but we talked about this. Like, you told, and I don't think I'm betraying a confidence here, but like we were talking during the commercial break, and you said that, you used to be physically distraught for a week if the Vols lost.
Yeah, like I couldn't even talk to people. Like people would be like, "Oh, we lost. All right, let's go out." I'd be like, "Go out? What do you mean go out? You want to have a good time right now? This isn't a joyous occasion. I'm just sit and stare at this wall for 4 hours."
It's a Wednesday night. The game was on Saturday, and you're still pissed about it.
Yeah, had to reevaluate some stuff.
That's deeply toxic. There's only one time in my life I've ever felt that way about my sports team, right? It was my sophomore year of college. Indiana was the number one team in the country in college basketball. Victor Oladipo, Cody Zeller, like there's pros all over the place. They make it to the Sweet 16. They crap themselves against Syracuse. And I don't even remember the second half. It was blackout drunk. It was poor, terrible decision making off $8 vodka, man. I was furious. Now I got over it like after I had purged my system of all of the terrible things that I'd put in my body in the second half because Tom Crean couldn't figure out a damn zone. Still bothers me deeply.
Does it bring you joy to see how bad Georgia is?
Oh, yes. Yes, it does. Because Tom Crean had my student credential revoked.
That's right.
While I was on student radio that nobody listened to. Tom Crean had my student credential revoked because I made fun of his recruiting class because the best he could do was the 47th best player in the state of Arizona, not the 47th best player in the country, Tim Priller. I'm still pissed about it. Still angry. Got me kicked out of the credentialed media for that. So, yeah, bleep Georgia. How'd we get there? 615-737-1045. That's the number. We're going to take more of your calls on this Titans offensive question that I've just posed to you. Coming up next, Mickey Ryan is also going to hang out with us. We never get a chance to catch up with Mick, and I guess today I'm going to do it twice. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Man, the internet has been vicious lately. Understandably so. We got Jimmy Morris from Broadway Sports tweeting us, do you think Todd Downing's Pro Bowl game plan will be more creative than the one against the Bengals? All the shade for Todd Downing.
How pissed will Titans fans be if they see like a reverse jet sweep in the Pro Bowl?
That's all the Pro Bowl is. Are you kidding me? Todd Downing's going to get in his bag during the Pro Bowl, and Titans fans are going to be sitting there might hate watching the Pro Bowl. I mean,
who's the starting AFC quarterback? I guess it would be Mahomes, right? Allen's not going.
Allen is not going. I would have to double check that because I know Harold Landry got called up as an alternate this week. Let me look up the Pro Bowl roster right now.
Like assuming Mahomes, let's say Mahomes is in the Super Bowl. Josh Allen's already said he's not going to Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would guess Justin Herbert. I don't know if he was
Herbert,
even named.
Mahomes, Lamar.
Okay.
Right now. But Lamar, what? Lamar didn't play half the season. Lamar's in the Pro Bowl?
So if Mahomes doesn't go to the Super Bowl, I bet Herbert would start.
Well, yeah. Yeah, no, he's the starting quarterback right now. For the NFC, the starting quarterback is, let's see. This is special teams. Terrible. I don't know why I can't see the it's not I'm only looking at the AFC article. Never mind. My bad. Yeah, Justin Herbert, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon. The Titans' only Pro Bowler by the normal election process is Kevin Byard, and then Harold Landry is in there as the fourth edge player / outside linebacker behind TJ Watt, Joey Bosa, Matt Judon, and then Harold Landry. So, yeah, Todd Downing's it's entirely possible that Todd Downing's game plan for the Pro Bowl is much more creative than what we saw from the Titans on Saturday against the Bengals. Let's go back to the phones. We got Travis in Sparta, who's up next on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Travis?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing well.
Hey, I've been listening to all these people, wanting to fire the coaches, wanting to fire Tannehill.
They want Lucas fired. They want the guy that screens the calls fired, Travis. They want everybody fired.
I'm not leaving.
But anyway, but you've got this window. You've got to stick with what you got and just add to it. And, it's your execution and your coaching. It's a combination of that. And let's look, there was one thing that I didn't think that anybody hit on this week was you've got Ryan Tannehill. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns. I think that's either the most or tied for the most.
I think he was 14th overall among rushing scorers this year. He was great. Tied a career high.
But for quarterbacks, he was like tied for first.
He was first among quarterbacks.
When you're down there going for 2 points, Derrick Henry's going to get the ball. Where's your bootleg? You could get Tannehill out on the edge. He's got to beat one guy, and this guy's going after Derrick Henry. I know he ran a couple of third downs when he didn't have anybody to throw to, but and then when we had 3rd and 5 on the last play, and everybody's complaining about the interception, we could run a sweep play like the 49ers did. Have your back. It could have been Foreman, could have been Derrick Henry, break a tackle, get 5 yards. If you don't get it, we punt it and we go to overtime. It's your execution, your coaching, your execution. You got to keep what you got and just build on it.
Thanks for the call, Travis. Oh, he avoided the music.
Close.
It's a heady play. I saw you sitting there with your finger on the trigger. Listen, the conversation all week has been armchair quarterbacking, and I understand the need to do that. I understand that there is some stuff that was discernible that they could have done better in real time. And a lot of this stuff, because Mike Vrabel's line on this has been consistent, right? You do not second guess yourself. Now, there's a difference between second guessing yourself and causing internal turmoil and putting yourself into bigger conflicts from a decision-making process as opposed to like self-scouting and kind of looking at this and saying, yeah, we made these mistakes. Where do we go from here? Now, Mickey Ryan is in the studio with us, which is delightful. Mickey never comes and hangs out with us. Blaine and Mickey never come and hang out with us. I'm with them on Fridays, and you never come hang out with me. It hurts.
We have to be invited. We're like a vampire.
And
we have to be invited into your house.
Slay's not invited. Slay's just shows up on the phone lines, and then all of a sudden I hear EDM music in the background. Like the people don't. There's not invites. People just show up here.
I don't have that kind of juice.
Mickey, what's it been like for you guys all week long? Because I've been trying to process this for people as best I can, and I don't think I'm doing a very good job. I don't think I'm the kind of therapist that people need.
This was my takeaway, and I've said this all week. I don't remember Titans fans ever being this mad.
Yeah.
I remember them being disappointed. I mean, I remember the Super Bowl, and, Blaine is pulling up in the parking lot. Trust me, he remembers that. I host a show with a former Titan who was part of all that stuff. But Titans fans are the most resilient bunch. We'll get them next year. Next year's our year. This will fix everything. Everything's going to be fine. This is the first year I ever remember them being this mad, and especially this many people this mad for this long.
Yeah.
People are still big mad.
This is the first segment all week that I haven't had loaded phone lines.
Yeah. So people are just mad, and Titans fans are for the most part, now don't laugh, I think for the most part, most people who root for the Titans are pretty realistic. Most of them. There's a fringe element that, wants you to resurrect Vince Lombardi's ghost and have him coach the team. And
Mickey, I got a call this week that said Drew Brees should be the next offensive coordinator.
Okay, I said most, not all.
Okay.
I know there's a fringe element with every fan base. But more people wanted people fired and people gone, and I never want to see this guy again. I've never heard as much of that as I've heard this week.
It has been fire and brimstone. And listen, by the way, that's the place that I think you want to exist. Like this is the kind of conversation that should be had around professional sports teams. I think that people understand the accountability and the opportunity that was just wasted because they pissed down their leg, Mick. Like there's no other way for me to describe it.
Now, I'll tell you what you don't want, and this is from a guy who used to sell tickets for a college where it was hard to sell tickets. You want people happy or mad. What you don't want is people to be apathetic, where they go, I'm done. So as long as they're mad, they're still at least connected. What you don't want is somebody to say, that's it, I'm never coming back. I'm keeping my money.
We're going to talk about happier things with Mickey Ryan because Mickey's a happy guy. I'm not a happy guy just generally, so we needed Mickey to come in here and brighten up the proceedings before.
Has more to do with me being old, and you have time-related questions from the past. But let's go ahead.
Also what that is. We'll get to the USFL conversation with Mickey Ryan here in just a second. 615-737-1045. Stephanie is in Smyrna up next on 1045 The Zone. Hello, Stephanie.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're well, thank you.
Good. I have a couple of questions. One is, do you think there's any validity in Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers joining the roster next season?
I would say no.
Do you anticipate Ben Jones? Do you anticipate Ben Jones coming back?
I would anticipate Ben Jones coming back, yes.
And then my last question is, it seems like a lot of teams just build a dynasty to always go to the next level. And kind of here in Tennessee, even since before they came here, this team has been pretty mediocre and okay to be like the top of the AFC, but not to go any further. What do you feel like needs to be the push to get us to the next level? Because it's frustrating.
I appreciate the call, Stephanie. 615-737-1045.
See, those were all just well-reasoned questions.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, for she's just like, okay.
Bravo, Stephanie.
I've got this stuff written down. I'm going to read them one at a time. I would love to hear your answers. As far as Ben Jones, he's such an anchor on the offensive line. He's a free agent. For what you would try to go out and find, why not just pay that money to Ben Jones?
Of the four guys who they can make decisions on this offseason on that offensive line, Nate Davis still on a rookie contract. Of the four guys that they could decide to bring back or not bring back, Ben Jones is the top priority internally.
Which he and Quest are both free agents. Then you got Saffold and Lawan who aren't, but they have $10+ million cap savings if you part with those guys. So that's just math that's out there in the universe that people are going to have to deal with at some point.
But to her point, like what? Because I've been having this conversation all week long with people much smarter than me, Mick, which is why I'm happy to have you here because I need intelligence. I don't know how they do what they do exactly, but I know that I fear them getting left behind if I'm a Titans fan because Joe Burrow is going to get better. They're going to get better help around him, and he's already got just a plethora of skill position players. Buffalo has Josh Allen in God mode, football God mode at this point. And Mahomes is only 5 years in the league, and he looks like he's getting more efficient, Mickey. Like, they could get dusted here really quick. And I think that from my standpoint, I think that they have to legitimately have a conversation about who they are right now. Because I don't know how to answer Stephanie's question. How do they elevate?
I think one thing they need on offense is overall team speed. They don't have the one guy that just terrifies you. And they haven't. Have they ever had? Blaine and I were having this conversation. Like, who's the guy that you were like, besides Chris Johnson?
Taywon was fast, but not much else.
Right.
And honestly, he wasn't all that fast.
No.
He wasn't all that fast.
But Chris Johnson was otherworldly fast. They haven't had a guy like that other than him, I would say, before or after. They're going to have to get faster. The other thing is, if your offense is what it is, and you're going to kick field goals and win one-score games, which seems to have been a long-time legacy for this team, we're going to run the ball, we'll win and die by 3-point games. That's. I mean, even I heard you talking about this earlier. The way that game ended the other night, that's the game they wanted to play.
Yeah,
heard you and Coach Mack talking. That's the game they wanted.
We've seen them play that game all year long. That's why when people ask me, "Am I surprised?" No, I'm not surprised because they've looked like that. They've looked that way all year long. It's just the difference was Julio, AJ, Derek. Figure it out.
So otherworldly speed, which they don't have, and those guys come around sometimes. The other thing is, and this is simple. I don't know what the full answer is. What's the counterpunch? If Derrick Henry is going to go 20 for 52 in a playoff game, you have to develop a counterpunch. If it's a quick passing game, if it's whatever it is, and they've shown they don't have the counterpunch in the postseason. They don't have and they ran for 140 against the Bengals. If they just didn't turn the ball over, they win that game.
Yeah. No, they could. I mean, they could have won that. They could have won that game throwing two of the interceptions, 2 of the 3. That's what's eternally frustrating because what the line is after when we go into the press conference rooms after the fact. I know you've been in these things too. But every time we walk in there and they say, well, not enough plays were made to win the game. No, you actually made enough plays to win the game. The 45-yard run by Deontay Foreman, enough of a play to win the game. Ryan Tannehill hitting A.J. Brown several different times, I think at least 3 times for over 20 yards as far as completions are concerned, and one of the most ridiculous touchdown passes and touchdown catches that I've seen all postseason. Because the counterpunch is supposed to be A.J., Mickey, but they don't do it with any kind of consequential volume.
I'm sweating just like you are hearing you say that.
I'm not sweating. I'm just heavy now.
you look at teams like the 49ers, and it's like, gosh, we have Deebo Samuel. Let's just find 20 ways to give him the ball every game.
Yeah.
And let's hand him the dang ball.
Let's
don't even put people between him and the ball. We'll just hand it to him.
Yeah.
Okay, you have an A.J. Brown over here to go with your Derrick Henry. Just hand him the ball sometimes. Just say, hey, big fella, they don't make many of you. Here's the ball. Go do something awesome with it.
You're an actual pterodactyl at the wide receiver position. This man's got a back like the console that's in front of us. I don't understand it. What I also don't understand is what Jeff Fisher is doing.
It's coaching. He's a ball coach.
Okay, I heard you and Blaine, not lose your minds is probably too strong, but you guys were very, very excited about the prospect of the USFL and the fact that Coach Jeff Fisher is going to be back in this with the Michigan. It's the Michigan, Panthers?
Panthers, yes.
Michigan Panthers.
Noted Panther Haven, Michigan. Yes.
Well, listen, none of these teams are geographically accurate because they're all in Birmingham, Alabama, apparently, which is perplexing to me. Why are you so excited about this?
I'm sick. And people who know the show listen to that.
Yeah.
If there's any football on TV, I will watch it. Canadian football, arena football, every spring league that's coming on within a matter of a couple of weeks. I have watched excitedly all of those football leagues, all of them. And my time goes back a little bit further than you and Lucas. I've definitely raised the average age of the show members today. I've really greatly increased that age.
Hey, no, but that's good because we're dumb.
But here's the thing. The USFL of the 80s was an interesting product because of a number of things. Now, Donald Trump, people who saw the ESPN 30 for 30 and things like that. So it's become this tabloid thing, and it's attached to Trump, and there's a lawsuit. They got $1, and it was tripled to $3 technically because it was, antitrust laws. And here's the thing. 1983, 84, 85, there was a second professional football league that was filled with Heisman winners and some future Hall of Famers and a whole bunch of quality NFL players, and even guys who went on to be coaches and executives that were fantastically part of the NFL's history. So in 1983, you were 13 years away from 1970. 13 years. 13 years.
Yep.
In 1970, the American Football League and the National Football League merged. So young people are like, wait, what? Go to Google, kids. There were two different football leagues. The NFL turned 50 in 1969. It had a 40-year head start on the AFL, which started in 1960. Al Davis was the commissioner of the AFL, basically the last commissioner they had when the vote was made to merge with the NFL, because everybody saw dollar signs. It's a more established league. They've got 40 years on us. Al thought he was getting elected as the commissioner. I've read books about this. Al thought he was getting elected commissioner to bury the NFL. That was his goal, right? That was 100% his goal, and it stayed his goal in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He was elected. They put more pressure on the NFL. The NFL merged with him. So here you are 13 years later, some guys with money start a football league. The idea is let's keep costs low. Let's play when the NFL doesn't play. That was the USFL. Also, while we keep costs low for top-tier talent, let's pay them more than the NFL. They had 3 Heisman, Mike Rozier, Doug Flutie, Herschel Walker. They had Heisman Trophy winners, bang, bang, bang. They were competitive football. They were good games. They were in some markets like Memphis where there wasn't an NFL team, Jacksonville, but they were in other places like Pittsburgh and L.A. where there were other teams.
Yeah.
Donald Trump kind of sold them some snake oil. And again, by this time, 83, 84, 85, let's go to playing fall football in 86. You were still just in teen years away from another league going head-to-head with the NFL and being so good that they merged with the NFL.
Right.
Untold scores of dollars.
Yeah.
Not how do we make payroll at the end of the month to, the secretary and the ball boy.
No, now we're the thing.
Now we're the thing. And it's like any other league. There has to be a majority vote. And he convinced enough people to vote. And there were, whatever the number was, there were 1 or 2 owners that dissented. But ultimately, they were outvoted, and they had to sign their own death warrant. They never even played another season. They never even made it to fall football.
No, there's a fantastic, and this is, we should do, not to age you, but we should do more segments like this where Mickey just explains sports things to us from the past that we have no concept of. Because I've anytime I see the stat come out from our friends at Titans PR or something like that, since the merger, yeah, what does that mean? Since the merger, I know what the AFL is, I know what the NFL is, and I know the history of how that came to be, but we don't have that kind of context around here. These are very informative segments.
So the other thing was there was a whole other football league in the 40s that in 1950 merged with the NFL, the All-American Football Conference. That brought the NFL the Browns, who immediately played for 6 straight championships and won 3 of them, the 49ers, and the original version of the Baltimore Colts, who would fold and then reform. So there were 2 mergers within the previous X amount of time where the NFL had absorbed other leagues. So that was the precedent was, gosh, it's not –
It's happened.
It's happened 14, 15 years ago it happened. And we've got Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Didn't work. But, man, it was good football. Good teams, superstars, Reggie White. I loved the team in Memphis. I grew up an hour away. It was fantastic. And it gave more guys jobs in football. And it was real football. It wasn't gimmicky, although instant replay came from the USFL.
Well, and now The Rock is a primary investor in the XFL.
Yeah.
This has had traction before, both the USFL and the XFL. In fact, our friend Diana Rossini was doing sidelines for XFL games. They had Oliver Luck, picking up beer snakes and stuff like that. There's an appetite for this. 30 seconds or less because we're running out of time here. Can something like this succeed?
History says no. It's just what form of greed, stupidity, or brokenness breaks them is really the question.
Yeah. Mickey, this was fun.
I hope it does, though, because, my Lord, that's just more football.
No, listen.
Please, more football. please. All of the football.
Yeah, spoken like somebody who has multiple hours of sports talk radio to do. It's exactly what the hell that means. Well, last call for phone calls. Poll questions are coming up next. Mickey, Ryan, Blaine, and Mickey, 1 to 3. Mickey's not done with me yet because I am on their show today because people are constantly questioning me. Why do you continue to talk on everybody else's shows? Just shut up. Well, Mickey and Blaine put up with me from time to time, so we'll do that later. Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir. That was fun. Anytime.
Mickey, Ryan. Polls next. That music means it's the end of the week. Mickey Ryan's still hanging out with us. He's got a show to do after this. Mickey, you sticking around to do polls?
Yeah, man, let's go. What you got?
Okay, we'll do the polls here in a second. Last call for phone calls, though, is the first objective. And by the way, thank you guys for putting up with our stupidity all week long. There's zero reason that we should get to do this for actual paychecks, but you guys make it possible. And it's been a hectic week. It's been a crazy week, but you guys have been studs. So we appreciate you hanging out. Get to some more phone calls before we do the polls. We got Steve in Franklin who's up next. What's up, Steve?
Hey, Buck. Love the show. Shout out to Mickey. We were banging around making music back in the 90s here in town in the same places. It's always good to hear his voice.
Love to see it.
But another old guy for you here. So first of all, Buck, I think you're one of the only people on the radio that had the right take about Tannehill after the game, and good on you for that. I don't think it had to be as crazy as everybody made it. People have really selective memory. I remember an AFC Championship game where Steve McNair threw 4 interceptions and special teams bailed him out, and now we celebrate it because it's the Music City Miracle. Yeah. I mean, our offense could get nothing going that day, and Steve McNair is a hero. So I actually think Ryan Tannehill has the potential to be better, and going forward, which is what we should do at this point, I think, Coach Vrabel's told us what he's going to do. Just like last year, he told us what he was going to do with Shane. This year with Todd, what he's going to do is he's going to say, it's the players, not the coaches. They're going to go get somebody really fast. They're going to drop Julio. They're going to change up the line. And he's going to bring in a Jim Schwartz-type guy to try to help Todd. That's what we'll see next year, and let's hope it works. That's all I got.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Is there a Jim Schwartz-type guy, Mick, that's out there, like on offense? Like Sean Payton is not coming in to be your Jim Schwartz.
The Undertaker's brother.
Oh, well, yeah, but he wants to be. Dennis Kelly's brother, also known as former Houston Texans offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly, is available. But listen, they've worked with Vrabel before. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Yeah. Downtown is up next on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Downtown?
I just want to point out, amidst the onslaught of Tannehill criticism, something that is a glaring red flag that I think gets overlooked a bit is everybody on the Titan side of the ball wanted to write off these turnovers and plays in the game as these great individual efforts by the Cincinnati defenders. But all 3 of those defenders after the games, Bates, Apple, and Hilton, all came out and said they basically knew exactly what we were doing and exactly where we were going with the ball. That, to me, is a huge red flag that I don't think gets enough attention.
That's all I've been doing is screaming about that all week long downtown. Like, their offense sucked. But that's the thing, Mickey. It's looked like that all year long. It's just you thought that they would get more creative because of the talent that they now had available.
Yeah, and as we discussed at the beginning of the last segment, I mean, heck, you didn't even have to be creative. You just didn't need to hand them the football. But I think sometimes even just like letting Tannehill sneak on a 4th and 1. He's a big, strong, healthy rascal.
It works.
Yeah, you don't have to get a guy 7 yards behind you and have him run 8 yards to get 1. There were times where I think even less creativity might have served him. Just let Tannehill fall forward.
Speaking of rascals, let me hear Rep Brian.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. It's the segment where bias takes over and nuance goes to die. Now, here's your favorite Buck Reising Show correspondent, Lucas Pan. Make that poll Zika.
Which quarterback has the most to prove this weekend? Matt Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mahomes, or Burrow? 54% say it's Stafford, 36% say Jimmy G, 7% Burrow, 3% Mahomes.
You had Mickey going with the music until you put on the club, and then you immediately lost it.
No, I like this. I like this okay. I'm a bass player, man. I like anything that moves people.
It's disorienting to me. Yeah, that is the correct answer. Matt Stafford has the most pressure on him. Jimmy Garoppolo has the most to prove this weekend.
Can you bring yourself to watch football after the Titans loss? 45% say yes, 39% say no, 16% say obviously I'm gambling. Blaine said on Blaine and Mickey last week, it took him a while, like until the Bills-Chiefs game, to really get fully back in. That game kind of woke him up.
Do you have that? Like, Like, do you have that problem? Like, your team loses and you just can't watch the sport anymore after that?
I've always never watched Sports Center the next day, which I know people are saying Sports Center, who watches that? Like, no highlights or anything, but I absolutely continue to watch live games. There's not enough football. Yeah. It's like oxygen, and we're in a space movie, in an airlock. It's all leaving. I watch all of it that I can.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what the hell else to do with my time.
No, I watch it all.
I should probably be more productive or, consider my relationship or something like that, but football.
Who do you want to win in the AFC Championship? 18% want the Bengals, 17% want the Chiefs, 65% say bleep them both.
Yep, send them into the sun.
Nancy says, doesn't matter.
Yeah, Nancy's over it. Nancy's done. Tired of your stuff.
Why would you be interested in the USFL? 56% say Fisher ball, 32% say more football to bet on, 12% say nostalgia.
Okay, Mickey Ryan is definitely in the 12%.
Square me in right there with the 12%.
Well, the gambling will carry us. Gambling is going to keep us all alive as far as this medium is concerned.
That and the ED pills.
Hey.
How invested are you?
Speaking of polls.
How invested are you in the SEC Big 12 Challenge? 13% are all in. 33% are just going to watch the Vols. 54% just don't care.
54% of us told us send basketball to hell. They don't care anymore.
What about you, Mickey?
I probably, I don't know.
He's lying to you. He's trying to make you feel better.
No basketball. I want to watch more football. I'm sorry.
We're the only people that care about basketball this way, Lucas.
I'll watch if I
Last one. Which NFL fan base leads the league in broken television? 61% say Cowboys. 34% say Bills.
It's Cowboys. I've seen way too many viral videos of pissed off Cowboys fans punching out TVs.
I think Bills fans break the table under the TV, but spare the TV.
Well, they get put in the conversation because of their proclivity to break furniture with their own bodies. Mickey Ryan, always a pleasure. Blaine and Mickey is coming up next, so you will continue your entertainment there, and I'm not going to leave Mickey alone because I'll be on in just a few minutes from now. Talk to y'all Monday.